Welcome to Memorable Marketing by Media Group, a podcast about marketing, strategy, advertising, and anything related. Today's guest, very interesting, works in the cosmetics industry for a company called Rudolph Care out of Scandinavia. Her name is Louise Baek Sedoc, and we're going to be talking a lot about her background, the types of things that she's been doing at Rudolph Care, and so on. So I hope you enjoy. Without further ado, here it is.
Just wanted this to be a really great success, and we wanted it to go viral. Those types of campaigns and how you execute them are definitely not the same anymore.
How are you doing today?
Good. How are you, Bart?
Very good as well. Thanks for joining the podcast. I've been looking forward to this mainly to get some tips on skincare and
all the pro tips.
Yeah, all the pro tips, the insider tips that we as laymen don't get. How about we start by telling us a little bit about your background, both personally and work-wise, and we can take it from there.
So my name is Louise Baek Sedoc. Personally, I live in Copenhagen, Vesterbro more specifically, with my twin girls, Havana and Leonora, who are 3 years old, and my husband, Oliver. Born and raised in Copenhagen, and I have a master's degree from CBS. I studied abroad on my bachelor degree in a university called East Carolina University. I did an internship in Los Angeles on my master's degree. I had a master's degree in intercultural marketing. It was named at that time. I'm not sure it's the same now, but back then that was the name of it. And the internship, I worked for a LA-based production company called Dick Clark Productions, who they do a lot of big award shows and red carpet shows. And I was sitting with the sponsorship there. So I think that was the first dive into marketing from my part.
Was it difficult to adjust to the American way of working together versus the kind of egalitarian, say what you're thinking Danish way?
Yeah, definitely. I mean, Danes, all organizations are pretty much they have the flat structure, right? And a very open door policy. In America, and I think especially in LA, when you work with celebrities and productions, it's a bit more structured, and there's an authority that you respect and a hierarchy. So it's a bit more corporate, I would say. But you still get to be a part of massive productions and stuff and meet people that you definitely wouldn't do in Denmark. So it has its pros as well, but it is different. It's a big cultural difference compared to Denmark, at least.
Did you get in trouble at all, or?
Luckily, I didn't. I think it was more a matter of not getting caught, but I stayed on the good side with them, and I actually still speak to some of the people that I met over there.
Very cool. And so I interrupted you. What happened after that?
Well, after that, I think it was on my second year of my master, I got my first full-time job as a campaign manager at a small company called Go Viral. They had just been acquired by AOL Platforms, who is and was at that time a big tech giant, a US tech giant. And Go Viral became a sub-brand called Beyond that was focused on branded video content. And it worked that way that we had this big network of publishers, and we would embed different campaigns and content videos for brands, right? And I think after a year or so, I got the opportunity to head up the Nordic delivery team for Beyond, which was super exciting and really fun. I worked across the implementation team at that point, the publishing team, and the campaign management. So it was very hands-on, which I think was a really good way to dive into the whole media industry and ad tech industry that was really just growing rapidly at that point.
The business model was sort of seeding videos with the hope of it going viral.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah.
And that was really a big thing at that point, especially because companies hear all the success stories about using organic reach to, get a bunch of brand awareness, to get a bunch of sales and so on. And that was really the promise of social media to begin with. It's you build your audience, then you get to keep it. course, the social platforms have sort of reneged on that, and it's not really that possible anymore to do it in the same way.
It's very different from like 15 years ago. I was actually thinking about it last night when I was going through your questions. And so how we would do it back then in 2011 would be that we would get this big campaign from a creative agency or its brand, and they would have like this goal that they want to achieve with this video, right? And how we would do it is that we would actually call up each publisher by phone and say, hey, we are coming out with this content. You should definitely embed it on your website, talk about it. It's super interesting. We couldn't really show the content. And I think when it then folded out and you would see, like when a campaign launched and you would see the video, first of all, go live on YouTube, be uploaded to YouTube, and then like slowly rolling out on all the other websites, it was super satisfying in a way from a campaign manager perspective. And today it's very automated. I do think that we have a much better way in like reaching a bigger audience and so on. But I think the old way definitely had some perks to it as well. I think one of the biggest campaigns that I've ever worked on in my career, and one of the first big global ones, I was campaign manager on the Volvo trucks with the epic split by featuring Jean-Claude Van Damme. And I remember like the early meetings with the creative agency, and they were like trying to sell us like this idea with like Jean-Claude Van Damme like doing the epic split between two trucks. And we used 6 months just prepping and planning this campaign across a lot of different markets and internally a lot of teams in AOL. I just remember the morning when it went live, we've been prepping for at least half a year, and we were all in the office maybe like 7 a.m. in the morning when it would be uploaded to YouTube. And we were all just like looking at that YouTube count and those YouTube views. And I was like super excited, but also super anxious at the same time. Like we just wanted this to be a really great success and we wanted it to go viral, but at the same time it was like Volvo trucks. It's not that sexy. It's a business to business campaign, but it needed to go viral, right? We needed to reach the wives of those truck drivers, the kids, everybody. It was like this massive launch. And I just remember like sitting there and see that the views suddenly just started like exploding, and it went up, and different news outlets started to talk about it on TV shows, in online forums, like all over social media. And it was probably like the most satisfying thrill ever. Like it was really, really nice, and a really good experience. I think those types of campaigns and how you execute them are definitely not the same anymore. And I don't know, it had something to it back then.
I think before I'm going to ask you the question that I really want to ask, just one point. People call this the most successful B2B ad ever made. Just saw that the other day by accident on LinkedIn, a few other places. Everyone knows it. But I think to some degree, the commentary is like, oh, it's actually secretly a B2C ad. Like, okay, it was made for Volvo trucks, but it's really done a lot of good for Volvo, the B2C brand. What are your thoughts about that?
I think so, definitely. It kind of put them on the map, right? It resonated with people, and people it just started a conversation. It was a conversation starter, and it was based on just purely humor. Of course, we wanted to, or the creative agency, their goal was to demonstrate that it was super easy to maneuver, but it got a whole other meaning. It definitely put a very not sexy brand on everybody's lips. So I think it's made a huge difference for them. And I also think they've been really good at seizing that opportunity and scaling up all the other like product offerings and content offerings. If you look at some other stuff that they've done, they keep exceeding. I think they're doing a really good job. So I think for them, it was also really nice to be kind of acknowledged as a brand that might not have the most sexy or most popular products, but they can still be the talk of the town.
I bet they were chasing that feeling for a long time, trying to come up with other ways to do it again.
Definitely. And I think all the people that worked on the campaign in AOL as well have been chasing that feeling, like how we conduct the businesses that we are in today. Me, myself, I'm always kind of like comparing it to every time I think about a new campaign or how we should enter a new market or whatever. I'm like, okay, how can we make this a Volvo truck? Like, how can we make this an epic split?
Oh, that's awesome. Now, the question I really wanted to ask is, did you get to meet Jean-Claude Van Damme?
No, never. Unfortunately, I wasn't. I only the people that was at the production, and I think it was a highway in Croatia that they shut down when they did the filming. So it was only the creative agency that got to meet him.
Damn it.
Yeah.
No, that's definitely a very notable thing that you've been a part of. I can also imagine just being a part of AOL in those days was pretty exciting, although I understand that you were in a smaller business unit.
Yeah. When I started, I think I was maybe the latest hire before we got acquired, or like the last hire before we got acquired, and we must have been maybe 8 or 10 people, and suddenly we became a part of this massive company with like hundreds of employees all over the world. It was something different. It was also, but I think we were super lucky because we had like our own entity. We were like this sub brand, and when Volvo Trucks happened, they were kind of like, you do your thing, just go ahead and have fun with it and create a lot of business with that. So we had a lot of freedom as a team, and we could kind of like just test a lot and try out a lot of different things. And it was such a fun time. It's a time where I often think about it when kind of considering my career. It was like my first step into the whole marketing perspective. And I think it's been really difficult to try and have other periods in your career where it's the same thrill and the same excitement and the same team effort. It was the team was just good, and it was just fun being successful with that.
Yeah, where do you go from there? It's like you win the Olympics when you're 23, and then how do you keep following that up? But I think you into that where now you're sort of starting to look at marketing as what can we do to sort of Volvo this, or perhaps even more like to create something that you're proud of enough that you're kind of like nervous to put it into the world?
Definitely. I think this whole start has given me a very, I would say, maybe unique, but maybe more like a specific approach to marketing, right? I think what's important for me, what great marketing is when brands are connecting on a deeper level, when they kind of justify or earn the space that they take in the media ad space. I think when we think about it, advertising, we kind of enter people's feeds, their favorite websites, their TV, their podcasts. And I think being a brand is just really, really important that you earn that space, that you have relevant content, that you inspire, educate, and if not that, maybe provide some kind of value. So it's not only selling, but you kind of, you connect on a deeper level. And I also feel like those brands that do that, for me, I think I relate, like they just resonate better with me. So I think that definitely also affects my daily work in Rudolph Care, where I think it's important to inspire and empower people about, empower them, give them knowledge about skincare and the benefits of like safe and transparent ingredients in skincare, so they know how to pick when they are purchasing different skincare. It's extremely important, and I think that's something that kind of keeps like being in the back of my mind always, is like, how can we connect on a meaningful level where we empower them to be more well informed as a consumer, but what we also like would make sense to take up the space and be noisy in their feeds.
Earn their attention, I suppose, is a good way to put it. If you look at the number of people that enjoy TV advertising, that has been on a downhill, black ski slope since the start of television. And I think one of the reasons is that we've been rewarding companies for sort of hacking people's attention. So, like, the more annoying we can make the ad, the more attention grabbing we can make it. Like, the more of that little piece of attention that people still have left, those companies can grab. Like, then it becomes like a tragedy of the commons situation where everyone abuses people's attention, and people sort of become blind for advertising. And yeah, it's good to see that there are companies that are seeing things the opposite way. Specifically about Rudolph Care and about cosmetics, one company that comes to mind for me personally, I'm no expert, but take it as it will. There was a company called Paula's Choice.
I know them, yeah.
So the way I came across them is because they have very in-depth information about like what certain ingredients in cosmetics do to your skin, how to treat certain skin conditions, what you should avoid, all of that information. And then sort of, it almost felt like the selling of products was kind of an afterthought. Like their first mission was more to educate.
I think so too. I think they did a really good job, Paula's Choice, also entering the Danish market. And I think it resonated with people because they were talking a bit more, they were being a bit more technical on ingredients, but it was still on a level that people could follow and understand. And they were breaking it down into different skin conditions where people could easily relate, or like say, okay, well, I can definitely relate to this issue, so this must be a product for me, right? I think that's really important when it comes to skincare, is that transparency and trying to educating people in the different formulas that are used, because it can be super, super technical sometimes to navigate that whole space. Yeah.
Perhaps a helpful way to look at it is a sort of attention funnel, where at first perhaps you do the Volvo stuff to get people's attention coming in, and then maybe more general information, like not as in-depth, and then you sort of proceed them along a path of more in-depth education.
I think you're correct on that one. I think it's about to even get their attention, right? There's so many skincare brands out there. The beauty industry is massive. It's a $1 billion industry. And I think to get people's attention, you just need to come up with some really nice inspirational content. But then when you kind of have that attention, you need to really, really quickly convert that into education in sustainability, in advanced formulas, in the transparency and the safety in using the right natural ingredients and so on. And you also need to, without being like teaching people but in a good way, you need to make them aware of the different choices they make when they purchase skincare.
Have you heard this thing about like the lipstick index, where, if it's economically not going very well, then people buy like little luxurious lipsticks? People's motivation in such a case is not anything to do with the quality of the product or the sustainability, things like this. Then it's more about like a little indulgence, like in the absence of, not being able to go out and buy a pink Mercedes or something.
Yeah, I think definitely the lipstick index is definitely something that's becoming more, I would say, popular amongst people, especially because of the economy right now. But I also think the whole multi-purpose product aspect is also something that's super known at the moment, because people want more value for less money, right? So they still want to indulge, they still want the luxury feeling of a little tiny lipstick, or that like spa feeling in their bathroom, but they want it for less money. What we've been focusing on is like how to make sure that every single product have some kind of luxury to it, and can engage in a routine that can provide you with a like a good mindset and a nice feeling. But I also think like our products, when it comes to multi-purposes, are super important. Like if you have a balm that you can use for small scratches and dry areas, but you can also use it for your lips or as a shimmer or as a highlighter, or you can use it as a face mask when you sleep. I think that at the moment I can see that that's something that is of really high value to people.
Sure. Okay. So sort of multi-purpose. It approaches people's wishes for this purchase in multiple ways. I guess it is a good way to see it.
Yeah.
We're talking about sort of the messaging or the product of things, but like, how do you actually go out and communicate this?
Yeah, well, I think it's something that we've been talking about lately because we are expanding globally and we are opening new markets. And Rudolph Care is a Danish skincare brand, right? It was started by our founder, Andrea Elisabeth Rudolph, who is a Danish celebrity. Like she's known as a TV host, as a radio host, and I would kind of say that at least 85% of people in Denmark know who she is. So we've been super lucky that we've been able to grow organically and get a lot of organic exposure as well. But in the foreign countries, they don't know Andrea. They don't know who she is, what she stands for, her values, and so on. So right now we have to heavily invest in paid marketing as well. We have to go out and be more, I would say, be more transparent about our values, about our certifications. We have two really important certifications. We have the Cosmos EcoCert, which is the European organic certification, right? And then we have the Nordic Swan Eco label, which is the Nordic organic label. And those two certifications together are really, really strong and really, really difficult to obtain for each product. It goes through a ton of different testings and so on. And I think these things we've been communicating in Denmark, but we haven't pushed it that much because it's just been a really nice add-on to the products and to the history of our founder and how she started the brand. But now when we are in foreign countries, we need to be much more specific about it and talk about it and translate to people what it means to be certified skincare.
So sort of without speaking, you have a certain brand image and awareness in Denmark because of the founder. I would say that in other countries, being a Danish company kind of does that for you as well. Like people have specific ideas about what it means to have Danish design, Scandinavian products, and so on. And that provides, I think, a sort of brand halo as well.
Definitely, absolutely. I would say it's always a really nice advantage to say that you are a Scandinavian or like a Danish skincare brand or any kind of brand, right? People like that. But I also think what we are kind of always been really strong in is our brand identity. We have a very visual brand identity as well, and a very Scandinavian brand identity, and that's also a really strong, I would say, tool or like a really strong position to have when you go to new markets. But another thing that I think approach to advertising that that's changed for us just during the last 2 years is video. When I started in 2021, maybe 95% of our content was beautiful imaging, right? We had like these big photo shoots with really beautiful imagery, and people were engaging with it. But the whole birth of TikTok, like video-based or video-focused platforms, Instagram that's prioritizing reels, we've definitely shifted, and I think the split now on our content is maybe like 50-60% video, and then the rest is imagery. So that part has been a huge change for us. The planning of a campaign, the whole creative concept, that's created in-house, and we're still a small team, so it's been a massive kind of transition that we've been going through from focusing only on imagery to actually focusing on video as well.
It's interesting to note that a lot of companies have been becoming publishers themselves. And then secondly, it's interesting that you're kind of coming full circle with what you were doing with viral videos, because you're kind of creating content and then seeding it in different ways. And perhaps, instead of working with a publisher, you put some ad budget against content to put it in front of an audience to seed it, and then hopefully, they will share it, like it, engage with it, and or the algorithm will push it a bit further.
Another thing that I love about digital marketing, compared to more traditional like print and outdoor, is that if you see a trend, or if you suddenly get a good report and some really insightful data that you want to act upon, you can actually do it. It's not so, there's a much higher flexibility compared to traditional like print marketing. I love to have those buffers in an annual schedule where you can actually seize an opportunity, or amplify something that's running really well, compared to other campaigns that are more set in stone.
I think one thing I recognize is what you said about, you have so many selling points, so many products, so many campaigns, and like everything is sort of someone's baby. And it's difficult to prioritize. It sometimes can get even political. Like, you have a product manager who's in charge of a certain line of products. They're not going to want to be deprioritized for another one. And then it becomes a kind of difficult situation. And I find that the best position to start from in that case is really, okay, let's test everything, but let's focus on the stuff that actually works for our audience, and like actually look at results, and do more of what works and less of what doesn't.
Yeah, definitely. I wish we had more hours in a day, like to actually work even more on all the different learnings that we get back, because we have so many learnings and there's so many interesting ways to go. And I think it's important also to kind of question status quo. So even though you're doing something that's working really well, that you've been doing for years, is there anything we can do to maybe skew that to another audience, or maybe also change people's perception of us? I think that's another really important thing, is that we contribute to people's perception of different things. And if we can help change that in some way about us or about other things, that's also super interesting. I think it's important to look into that data and those insights and kind of prioritize what kind of messaging you want to make based on what people want to hear. I think a brand that's doing that really well is Goop. I don't know if you know Goop. It's run by Gwyneth Paltrow. It's a US health and wellness brand.
Yeah.
But I think what she's doing really, really well is that she knows how to connect with her audience. She knows how to give them what they want. And at the same time, kind of cultivating them, and using, and I think she's not afraid to use irony when she does it, and humor. And I think that's pretty cool. I think she's definitely one of the people I admire for like looking into this specific data and need from her audience.
I think it could be a little bit different though. Of course, in Denmark, there's a different situation, but with Gwyneth Paltrow, because of her personality, because of the name recognition that she has, she attracts a certain type of people to her kind of naturally. And then kind of all you have to do, well, it's not easy, but it would be to sort of stay true to who you are in whatever goes out, because that's what attracted people to you in the first place. So then, there's a feedback loop, of course, where you see what specifically works well for your audience. But if the starting point is I'm only going to do what I find interesting, and people were interested in this in the first place because of me as a person, then it's just all going to work very well.
Yeah. I think you're completely right on that. And I think that's something that we, having Andrea as a founder, also can do in some areas. For example, we ran a campaign, which was, I think it was back in 2021. We wanted to do something for Valentine, right? And we didn't want to go the traditional way. It's mainly for couples. And I don't like the way that if you're single, you don't feel a part of it. I think that's just bullshit. So we wanted to do something where we could embrace self-love, that the whole theme of loving yourself first before you can love others, and also kind of remove that taboo about self-love. Like, you need to know yourself and you need to take care of yourself intimately as well. So we made a collab with a Danish sex positive company called Peach, who shares the same values as us. Like, they have values like, high quality health and intimate and sexual wellness. That's super, super important. And it's also something that's become a greater part of the whole skincare industry. So we made this collab, and we had like a unisex vibrator that they made, and we bundled it up with our Acai body balm, which is like a very a nourishing balm that we have that you can use for massages and so on. And it became this really fun campaign. And I don't think we could pull it off if it wasn't for Andrea, because people already know her, and they know that she also have a sense of humor, and that she is also super curious and tries like new things. So it gave us an advantage in that way. But it was super funny because it changed people's perspective of us as a brand. But it also helped us to reach a younger audience, but still also reaching our current audience, which is the more mature woman. So it just ended up being this really fun, inclusive campaign that expanded our target audience. But I think it's not the same way as Gwyneth Paltrow, but she definitely also, people that know her personality and what she stands for and her values, that just made it easier to come out with a campaign like that.
For sure. And I think, in Denmark being you could say she's kind of a Gwyneth Paltrow in Denmark, but in other markets, it might be more difficult to go there. And I imagine that you're going to need almost two marketing strategies, like one for Denmark and another for the rest of the world.
Absolutely. That's definitely what we've been doing, is that we've slowly experienced that we need to kind of approach it in a different way that we've been doing in Denmark. So when it's possible, of course, we bring Andrea with us, and she talks to new retailers and new partners in the new markets.
Yeah, so it's almost like, you have her personality as sort of what the brand stands for in Denmark. In other places, the brand will need to show its own personality, right?
Definitely. Absolutely. And that's going to be exciting. That's something that we haven't tried before, or we've done it, but not in a global perspective. So it's going to be an interesting journey.
Well, yeah, indeed, it will probably take a lot of planning and production work, but I'm sure you'll figure it out. You mentioned the collaboration with the sex positive brand. I forgot the name already.
Peach, yeah.
Peach, okay, yeah, good name, by the way. There was a time where a lot of companies were doing these type of X cooperations with other brands. I think it sort of faded during COVID, but I'm wondering, like, in general, what do you think about this tactic and how you can sort of borrow the other brand's image to augment your own?
I think, like, I really like this tactic. For me, it makes a lot of sense. Both because I also think that sometime when you as a brand want to expand to a new like product area, or you want to kind of try out new things, I think it's really important that you also as a brand know your limitations. And I think it's better to partner up with another brand that are expert in that area, that has the right expertise to actually, that being design or like positive sex toys, or like if it's, mostly we see it in the fashion industry, right? Whether it's like clothes or shoes or whatever. But I think it's important to team up. And I think my experience with these different brand collabs is also that people sometimes find it more authentic. From our data, it's also more supportive on the organic growth rather than the paid growth. We are actually coming out this month, hopefully, with another new collab, but that's more on the educational part of our sun series. And our sunscreen, and how important it is, because we can talk about it all we want, but the younger generations and a lot of people are still not, like, they just don't use enough sunscreen.
There's a lot of awareness and a lot of big campaigns going on in Holland right now, where people talk about that good sunscreen needs to be visible on your screen, needs on your skin, needs to stay visible and doesn't sort of disappear into it. And then they're talking a lot about like mineral-based sunscreens and things of that nature. So I think this awareness is coming. So that's a very, I think, interesting approach for you guys as well. You mentioned already a few companies that you like and admire. Maybe put it this way. Are there any international brands that we might all know that you would love to collaborate with, or that that you just admire separate?
I think Patagonia is a no-brainer. They act with integrity. They share a lot of the same values that we do as a skincare brand. And I think with our sun care, sunscreen or like sun care category, we're also doing a lot of like outdoorsy activities, surf and ski and so on. So I think Patagonia for me is a no-brainer. That would be a dream come true. I think it would be a really strong brand fit. But I also think, I mean, Apple just came out with the greatest campaign, right? Where they're like kind of showcasing the fantastic advantages that technology has for people like with disabilities. I think that's super cool as well. I think that's really nice to see that they're not only pushing like the newest iPhone and the newest gadgets, but they also, again, taking it to a deeper level where we kind of see how this technology can help people with disabilities. And I hope, not in the same way, but I hope this new collab that we are launching this month can kind of also add a technical support to what we're trying to do with our sunscreen.
Are you going to do that internationally or in Denmark to begin with?
We're gonna do it internationally. So we're gonna have it as a online exclusive product, so you can buy it on our Euro site as well. Others, I think, that are doing a really good job. I think Hermes, the French brand, is doing it really well as well. Like they've been very outspoken about like shunning the assembly lines. Like they don't want to do everything by manufacturers of big machines and so on. They want to have the people, like they want to keep the people behind it. They want to have their bags handmade, and the whole thing of going out and talk about that they're kind of the control, like their quality control is not about the bag, it's about the pride that the person who made the bag has. Like I think that's super cool as well. Again, it's marketing, right? but I think it's interesting because it resonates on a deeper level, and it's something that people, especially also thinking about the economy that we have right now, it's something that's valuable to people that they can understand.
I think Hermes is a company that a lot of things can be learned from. Just in general, the for luxury, there will always be the thing that the more time it takes to make something by hand, the more we value it, and so that's, I think, very smart. But if you go to a Hermes store, it always smells the same. It always looks the same. It has the same sort of feeling. All of their products, like it's just such a great, like from a brand perspective, consistent brand. It's definitely something that I think a lot of companies can learn from.
I totally agree.
Last but not least, I want to ask the question that I've asked a lot of people already. Mm-hmm. What would you advise yourself when you were even younger, or someone starting out in this industry in a position like you have now? Like what kind of things can they do to make their life or their career better?
Honestly, like my first thing, I think it's because I started out as a campaign manager and have done all the orchestration of bigger campaigns, but like be organized. Be really like well prepared and organized, or get yourself a kick-ass assistant that is like organized on your behalf. I think that's something that's super important. I also think have a good understanding of data and be curious about it. And it might seem like, I think many people the first thing they hear about like data and insights is like, ugh, it's so boring, but it's super interesting, especially in this field. and it's super powerful. It's empowering. So I would say like get a good understanding of data and insights, the omni-channel, and also learn to be transparent about it. Learn to how to break it down to your team. I think an important thing that I've learned working on the brand side now compared to the ad tech industry that I've been in for so many years is that you might have a vision or a new platform that you want to try out or whatever, but if you're not able to get the whole team on board, if you're not able to make them understand why it's such an incredible chance or like a possibility or why it works as good as it does, it will never really be a success, right?
What I heard from the things that you just said, it's like organize, analyze, and communicate. Like organize your stuff, your work, plan, analyze in depth what results you're getting, and then like be very good on communicating what you're doing, why you're doing it, and sort of internal education.
Yes, be excited about it so you can get them excited about it. I think that's super important. And lastly, I would say observe. Like you never get to a space if you're in a spot where you think, I know it all, I don't need anymore. You're on the wrong path. Like I'm like, dude, you need to do something different here because you need to observe, you need to listen. I think another thing that's really important is to have younger people on your team, like so they can kind of keep you in the loop because it's changing all the time. So I would say like observe and listen. No matter how many years of experience you have, you don't know it all, especially not in this industry.
I'm taking that personally. Thanks a lot, Louise. I thought it was a very, very interesting conversation. You're welcome back anytime. But for now, thanks a lot once again for being on the podcast.
I'm so happy to be here, and thank you for having me, Bart.
So I thought that was a very cool talk, Valeria. At the end of every podcast, we have a little talk about what we thought was interesting or noteworthy. Did you have any thoughts this time?
Yeah, of course, the skincare industry in general is very interesting for me. So it was quite interesting to hear about the trends, focus on sustainability, organic ingredients, that they're shifting from, making beautiful images presenting the products to making short videos, reels, TikTok, and other popular stuff. And also, like most popular brands, Rudolph Care focuses on producing relevant content, not just to sell their products, but inspire and educate their customers. And this way, they're earning their trust and loyalty. And also, it's very interesting that they're now challenged to expand to other countries and build awareness of their products where people are not aware of the famous Danish founder. So they need to work on different strategies, different messages.
Yeah. And I think in the end, this will make them a better brand in Denmark as well. Because if you are able to sort of, I'm not saying that they do that, but hypothetically speaking, if you're able sort of to live off of the reputation of, your founder, if that creates a lot of brand awareness, then perhaps there could be a tendency to be a bit complacent or to not be entirely clear because the founder has already communicated that.
And she also mentioned in the beginning that the way she did marketing regarding the video 10 years ago is totally different now. that time she needed to contact all the publishers manually, and now it's very automated. So less man efforts to conduct all these campaigns.
Yeah, I'm old enough to remember that time where everyone was asking their agencies to, can you make me go viral? And that was really, there are a lot of agencies that were started just with like some viral related name in them to service that. But of course, it's something that you can't really plan for so much.
I'm too young to remember this.
Very subtle, thank you. No, but even the best planned campaigns, like you don't really know what is going to work and what is not going to work. And I think one of the great gifts of the internet and social media is that you can throw so much out there and sort of see what sticks, and then just do more of what works until you get to a place where maybe you can actually predictably have successful communications.
Agree.
So once again, cool conversation, and a lot of things to think about. I need to rethink my skincare regime as well. Very important. Until next time, Val, thanks for joining us.
Until the next time.
That was another episode of Memorable Marketing by Media Group. I hope you enjoyed this very interesting talk, at least for me. If you'd like to be advised of future episodes, feel free to like and subscribe and so on. You can find us on all of your favorite podcast platforms as well as on YouTube. Until next time.